What if the cure to a life-threatening illness wasn't found in the hands of the best doctors or the most expensive treatments? What if the answer was hidden in the hands of a poor girl with nothing but a basket and a simple delivery to make? Maya, a young, impoverished delivery girl, trudges through a city on a rainy afternoon, carrying meals to the Strickland mansion. She doesn't know that her next delivery will change the life of the Strickland family forever. Despite the storm, Maya has one goal: deliver the food and earn her wages to feed her sick grandmother. As she approaches the mansion, the Strickland's wealth contrasts sharply with her own simple life, adding a layer of emotional tension as she moves through a world where people are defined by their status. Little does Maya know, this delivery will bring her face to face with the billionaire's son, Evan Strickland, who was on the verge of death from an illness that 500 doctors couldn't cure. Her touch will change everything, but saving him will come at a price she could never imagine. This creates immediate intrigue, raising the stakes and hinting at a transformation for both Maya and the Strickland family. It teases that something extraordinary will happen through a simple act. As Maya steps into the opulent mansion, her mind is focused on the money she will earn, but fate has other plans. She has no idea that her life is about to be intertwined with that of Evan Strickland, the billionaire's son, whose condition has puzzled and defeated the best doctors in the world for years. Maya's simple touch will become the key to healing him. But it will also reveal long-hidden secrets about her own mysterious bloodline, a gift and curse passed down through generations. Maya's life, though difficult and humble, has always been simple. Each day she wakes up early, heads to her grandmother's house, and sets out to deliver food to various homes across the city. The Strickland mansion, however, has always been a place of mystery and rumors. The mansion is known for one thing: the son of the billionaire, Evan Strickland, who has been ill for years. No one knows what's wrong with him, only that he's been bedridden for far too long. The doctors say there's no cure, but someone, somewhere, believes differently. Little does Maya know she's about to become that someone. Her heart raced as she approached the gates of the Strickland mansion. The sight of the towering iron fence, the perfectly manicured lawns, and the sleek black cars parked out front made her feel small and out of place. She was used to the slums, the dusty streets, and the cramped rooms of her grandmother's house. But this was a world she could barely imagine. Maya clutched the food basket close to her chest, trying to ignore the nerves creeping up her spine. She had made deliveries to wealthy homes before, but none had ever looked like this. She had heard the whispers about the Stricklands, the billionaire tech mogul, and his reclusive son Evan. But she never thought she'd be standing at their doorstep. The mansion's front door swung open, and a servant greeted her with a polite yet detached smile. "Follow me," she said, her tone more businesslike than friendly. Maya nodded and walked behind her, feeling the weight of the silence pressing in on her. The grand marble floors beneath her feet felt foreign, the walls adorned with artwork she would never be able to afford. She couldn't help but feel like she was intruding on something far more significant than her simple delivery. As they walked through the long, winding halls, Maya caught glimpses of the opulent rooms, crystal chandeliers, gleaming gold frames, and furniture that looked as if it had never been touched. This was a world she didn't belong to. Her worn shoes scraped softly against the polished floors, the only sound in the otherwise silent house. The servant led her to a quiet wing of the mansion, where the air felt colder, the atmosphere heavier. It was a sharp contrast to the brightness of the rest of the house. Maya's eyes fell on a large wooden door, where the servant paused. "This is his room," the woman said, as if revealing a secret. "Leave the food inside and leave quickly. His condition is delicate." Maya didn't ask questions. She was simply here to deliver. She stepped inside the room, feeling the temperature drop further as she closed the door behind her. The space was dim, with only a few candles flickering on a side table. In the center of the room lay a bed draped in thick velvet curtains. And on that bed was Evan Strickland, motionless, pale, and eerily still. His face was too young, too handsome to match the illness that seemed to consume him. His skin had a grayish hue, and his eyes were shut as if locked away behind some invisible barrier. It looked as though he had been here, in this very position for years, untouched by time. Maya hesitated, unsure of what to do, before she placed the meal tray on the nightstand next to him. But as she turned to leave, something strange happened. She felt it before she saw it. A subtle shift in the air, a whisper of energy that seemed to hum around her. She turned back toward the bed, her eyes narrowing as she saw something impossible. Evan's skin, once cold and gray, seemed to warm slightly. His lips, once colorless, now held a faint trace of pink. His chest, which had been still, took in a deeper breath. Maya froze. Her heart hammered in her chest as she watched the transformation unfold. Was this real? Had she really seen it, or was it her imagination? Before she could process what was happening, the door opened behind her and a voice called out, "What are you doing here?" Maya spun around to see a tall man standing in the doorway. His features were sharp, his eyes cold and questioning. He was dressed in dark clothing, his presence commanding. The weight of his gaze made her feel small, exposed. I was just delivering food," she stammered, stepping back. "I didn't mean—" "You touched him." His voice was low, dangerous. Maya's breath caught in her throat. She had only touched the tray. She hadn't. Before she could finish her thought, the man stepped past her, his eyes never leaving Evan's form. He moved quickly, his hands gently brushing Evan's face, checking his pulse with practiced precision. The change in Evan's condition was unmistakable. "Oren!" the man barked, his voice sharp. "Get in here now!" A few moments later, an elderly man entered the room, dressed in physician's robes, followed by 2 guards. His face, weathered with age and experience, was filled with disbelief as he checked Evan's pulse. "It's stronger," the physician muttered, his hands shaking. "How is this possible?" Maya's heart pounded in her chest as the man turned toward her, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. He stared at her for a long, tense moment, as if trying to piece together something that didn't make sense. "Who are you?" he demanded. Maya opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She felt like she was drowning in the weight of the situation. She wasn't sure how she had caused this change, but she had, and she couldn't understand why. The next morning, Maya felt an odd sense of foreboding as she approached the Strickland mansion again. She couldn't shake the image of Evan's face, the faint color returning to his cheeks, his breathing becoming steady. It had to be a coincidence, she told herself. There was no way that her touch had anything to do with it. But even as she said it, the thought gnawed at her. The servant who had greeted her the day before met her at the door, this time with a more serious expression. "The master requests your presence," she said, stepping aside to let Maya in. Maya hesitated but followed the servant down the long corridor toward the wing of the mansion where Evan's room was. The atmosphere was thick with tension, as though everyone in the house was holding their breath, waiting for something. Maya's palms were clammy, and her stomach churned. She had no idea why she was being called back. When they reached Evan's room, Magnus Strickland was standing by the bed, his eyes fixed on his son. He looked every bit the billionaire he was, sharp, powerful, and determined. But there was a softness to him now, a weariness. He turned as Maya entered, his eyes narrowing as if sizing her up. "I need to know what happened yesterday," Magnus said, his voice calm but commanding. Maya swallowed hard. I'm not sure. I just delivered the food and touched his wrist." "Touched his wrist?" Magnus repeated, his gaze piercing. "Just touched him, and his health improved?" Maya nodded, her unease growing. "Yes, but it doesn't make sense. It's probably just a coincidence." Magnus stepped closer, his expression intent. "I don't believe in coincidence when it comes to my son's life." He motioned to the bed. "You touched him yesterday, and today he's better than he's been in years. I need you to do it again." Maya froze. "Do it again?" "I don't know how I did it in the first place." "You're going to try," Magnus said, his tone firm, though not unkind. "If you can do it once, I need to know if you can do it again." Despite her doubt, Maya walked to the bed, unsure of what was happening but unable to refuse. Evan lay there, still and pale, though his color had improved slightly since yesterday. She felt her heart race as she bent over him, her fingers hovering over his wrist. Taking a deep breath, Maya gently placed her hand against his skin. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, to her shock, Evan's chest rose and fell with a deeper breath. His skin warmed beneath her touch, and color flooded his face. Slowly, his eyes flickered open, just a little, and he let out a soft, breathless sigh. Maya jerked her hand away, staring at him in disbelief. Was it really her touch that had done this? Magnus stepped forward, eyes wide with astonishment. What did you do? I didn't do anything, Maya stammered, stepping back. I just touched him. I don't know what's happening. The physician from the previous day, Oren, entered the room, his eyes immediately darting to Evan. He rushed to the bedside, checking Evan's pulse and temperature. The room was silent as he did his examination, his movements swift but careful. This doesn't make sense, Oren muttered, stepping back, his eyes wide with confusion. His pulse. It's stronger. His temperature is normal. This isn't possible. Maya's head spun. It's not me. It can't be. But Oren wasn't listening. He turned to Magnus. I don't know what this girl did, but she's somehow triggering these changes in the prince's health. This isn't normal. We've never seen anything like this. Magnus's gaze locked onto Maya, a flicker of realization in his eyes. You're not just a delivery girl, are you? Maya's stomach dropped. I don't understand, she whispered. I didn't do anything. I can't help him. I'm nobody. But Magnus wasn't convinced. He turned to Oren, then back to Maya, his voice low but insistent. Find out what's happening. I want to know everything about this girl. A few hours later, Maya sat in the mansion's library, feeling out of place amid the opulence that surrounded her. Oren, the physician, had taken her aside and started asking questions about her family, her background, anything he could get to understand what was happening to Evan. You're a healer? Oren had asked, his eyes sharp with suspicion and intrigue. Maya shook her head. I don't know. My grandmother was known for healing people in the village. She taught me a few things, but nothing like this. I don't even know if I'm doing it right. The physician's expression shifted. Your grandmother. Do you know what bloodline you come from? This gift. It could be something passed down through generations. Maya's heart skipped a beat. Bloodline? She had never heard her grandmother speak of such things. Oren leaned in, his voice lowered. It's rare but not unheard of. There are ancient healers, people born with the power to heal without knowledge of how or why. Your grandmother may have been one of them. Later that night, Magnus Strickland approached Maya once more. His face was different this time, harder, more determined. I need you to stay, he said, his voice cold. I'll offer you anything you want, money, status. Just stay here and help my son. He's the only family I have left. I can't lose him. Maya's heart twisted with pity, but she knew she couldn't stay. I can't be bought, she said quietly. My gift isn't for sale. Magnus's eyes hardened, but he didn't argue. Instead, he said, Then stay because my son needs you. Stay because he's not the only one who's been saved. Maya's chest tightened as she realized she was standing on the edge of something much bigger than herself. The following days were a blur of confusion and wonder for Maya. Each time she touched Evan, his health seemed to improve. His breathing grew steadier, the color in his face deepened, and the pallor that had once dominated his features slowly faded. It was as if a light was flickering back to life within him. But with every change, Maya's doubt grew. She wasn't trained. She wasn't special. So why was this happening? Why was she able to do something that even the world's best doctors couldn't? Her mind was a whirlwind of questions. So when Oren, the physician, approached her later that week, she was bracing for answers she wasn't sure she wanted. You're not just a delivery girl, Oren said, his voice low as he sat beside her in a dimly lit study in the mansion. You come from a long line of healers, don't you? Maya frowned, her heart skipping a beat. My grandmother. She helped people, but I don't know about any bloodline or anything like that. She never talked about it. Oren's gaze sharpened. She wouldn't. It's a secret she kept for a reason. There are families like hers, with powers passed down through generations, powers to heal. And now, it seems that power has awakened in you. Maya recoiled slightly. My grandmother was just a healer, like many others. She was kind to people in the village, but we never spoke of anything special. Oren leaned closer, his voice dropping to a near whisper. What if I told you your family was connected to something older? Something far more powerful than simple herbal remedies? There are ancient bloodlines, ones that carry a gift of healing, passed down carefully and secretively. Your grandmother's gift was hidden for a reason. It could be dangerous in the wrong hands. Maya felt a chill wash over her. The idea of a hidden legacy was both exhilarating and terrifying. But as Oren spoke, it became clear that Maya had inherited more than she had ever known. She had inherited something that was meant to remain secret, a lineage tied to the very essence of life itself. Oren's words echoed in her mind as she returned to her small room in the mansion later that night. She couldn't sleep, her thoughts racing as the weight of this new knowledge pressed down on her. Was this the reason Evan's health was improving? Was this the reason she had been drawn into the Strickland family's web? The next morning, Maya stood at the window watching the sky slowly brighten as the sun rose over the mansion's vast gardens. There was no turning back now. Her touch had done something that science, money, and power could not. She had saved Evan, and in doing so, she had uncovered a truth about herself that she wasn't sure she was ready to face. Magnus Strickland had become increasingly obsessed with her presence. His offers were no longer subtle. They were demands wrapped in promises of wealth, status, and a future as part of his family. He no longer saw her as just a girl who happened to heal his son. He saw her as the answer to everything, the key to Evan's salvation, and the key to his family's future. I want you to stay, Magnus said one evening, his tone softer than before. You've given Evan something I thought I'd lost forever. I can't lose you now. Maya turned away, her fingers tightening around the hem of her dress. She had grown fond of Evan. His recovery was nothing short of miraculous. But she wasn't sure she could stay. She wasn't sure she could be a part of this world. I don't belong here, Maya said quietly, her voice trembling with the weight of what she was about to say. I can't be your solution. This gift? It's not mine to give away like that. It's something I don't fully understand. Magnus stepped forward, his eyes filled with a mixture of desperation and determination. You don't understand what you've done. You don't understand what you mean to this family. I'll give you everything you need, anything you want. You'll never have to want for anything again. But Maya shook her head, her resolve hardening. You don't get it. I can't stay, Magnus. My grandmother kept this secret for a reason. And the moment I give in to this, let it be exploited, it will change everything. I'll never be the same again. Magnus's expression faltered. He hadn't expected rejection. But as Maya walked away, leaving him standing there, a realization began to settle in. He had no control over this. No matter how much money he offered, no matter how much power he wielded, Maya's decision wasn't his to make. Later that night, Maya sat in the quiet of her room, the weight of the family's demands pressing against her chest. She didn't know what her future held, but she knew one thing. This gift, this hidden bloodline, wasn't just a blessing. It was a curse, too. It had been hidden away for generations, kept from those who might exploit it, kept from those who might want to change the world with it. Maya understood now that once her abilities were exposed, her life would never be the same. And the Stricklands, for all their power, weren't the only ones who could be dangerous. Maya couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled deep within her. Every time she touched Evan, his health improved, and the changes were undeniable. His pale, lifeless skin grew warmer, and his breathing became steadier. But the more he recovered, the more her discomfort grew. She had been raised in a world where wealth and power had little meaning. Helping others was simple, straightforward. No strings attached. But this was different. As the Strickland's offers grew more insistent, Maya found herself torn between the life she had always known and the world the Stricklands were offering her. Magnus, with his vast fortune and unyielding determination, wanted her to stay, to become a permanent part of their world. But Maya wasn't sure she could. She had seen the mansion, felt the coldness of the wealth that surrounded her, and she couldn't escape the sense that her gift was nothing more than a commodity to be used. She wasn't just a healer in their eyes. She was a means to an end, a tool to save their son and fulfill their desires. And she couldn't ignore the way their power made her feel small, insignificant, like she was being bought and sold. She had always believed her gift should be used for the good of people, not for the selfish desires of the rich. But as Evan's health continued to improve under her touch, the Stricklands' need for her grew, and with it, their pressure on her to stay. One evening, after another day of watching Evan recover in front of her eyes, Maya stood in front of the large window in her room. The golden light from the setting sun bathed the mansion in a warm, almost inviting glow, but it only served to remind her how out of place she felt here. She thought of her grandmother and the small, humble life they had lived. There was no wealth, no grand estates, just simple contentment. But here, in the Strickland mansion, there was pressure. A pressure to use her abilities for their benefit. And it was beginning to feel like she was suffocating under the weight of it all. That night, Magnus found her alone in the library, staring at the book she would never have access to in her old life. His presence, commanding as always, filled the room before he even spoke. "I've thought about your refusal," he said, his voice steady but tinged with impatience. "And I'm asking you again. Stay, help Evan. You've already done what no one else could. You can give him a future, a life he deserves, and I will give you everything you've ever wanted in return." Maya's heart sank. It was the same offer, repeated over and over. Money, status, protection. Everything he had, he was offering, but it all felt hollow to her. "I'm not a tool for you to use, Magnus," she said, her voice tight with emotion. "I didn't come here to be bought, to be used for your son's sake. I'm here because I wanted to help. But this is not what I want." Magnus's eyes flashed with frustration. He took a step forward, closing the distance between them. "You think I'm using you? You think I'm trying to control you? What would you have me do? My son's life was slipping away, and you—" He paused, his voice darkening with intensity. "You're the only person who can save him." Maya clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. She had never seen this side of him before, this desperation, this sense of entitlement. He wasn't just asking, he was demanding. "I'm not your solution," she said, her voice shaking. "I'm not here for you to control, for you to keep in your pocket like some kind of prize. I have a life, Magnus. I have my own path to follow." He stepped closer, his expression softening slightly. "And what is that life? Is it better than what I'm offering? A life of poverty, of struggle, with no chance to truly live?" Her breath hitched in her throat. "I'm not asking for riches. I don't need your money or your status. All I ever wanted was to help people, to use my gift for something good. But what you're asking, what you're offering, it's not worth the price." Magnus's face darkened, his patience wearing thin. "So you'll walk away?" he said, almost quietly. "You'll leave Evan, leave us, when you could change everything?" Maya stood her ground, a rush of heat flooding her chest. "Yes, I would, because what you're offering isn't what I need. I don't want to be a part of your world, not like this." As her words hung heavy in the air, a cold realization washed over her. She had always known she was different, but it wasn't until now that she truly understood the cost of staying with the Stricklands. If she stayed, she would lose herself. Her gift would become a commodity, something they owned, something they could use whenever they wanted. And Maya wasn't sure she could live with that. Magnus didn't speak, his eyes locked onto hers with an unreadable expression. She turned away, the weight of the decision settling over her like a storm cloud. She had made her choice, but at what cost? That night, as Maya lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her thoughts churned. The Stricklands had offered her everything: money, fame, protection. But none of it felt real. None of it felt like something she could accept without losing herself in the process. The price of staying was becoming clearer with each passing moment. And in the quiet of the mansion, Maya knew she couldn't stay in a world that didn't understand the value of what she had. The days that followed were filled with a quiet tension, one that Maya could feel crawling beneath her skin. The Strickland's obsession with her abilities had grown, and each time she entered the room, their eyes seemed to scrutinize her with increasing expectation. They saw her as their savior, the key to Evan's future, and to them, she was no longer just a delivery girl. She was the solution to all their problems. Magnus, in particular, seemed to view her as indispensable. His every word to her was coded in urgency, as though he believed that without her, Evan's health would slip away again. At first, Maya had been content to help. She had wanted nothing more than to see Evan healthy again. But now, the weight of their expectations was beginning to feel suffocating. She was no longer just helping. She was being used. Each day, she was asked to touch Evan, to heal him, to bring him back from the brink. And with each touch, his health improved, but so did the pressure on her. The mansion had become a gilded cage, one where she could feel the walls closing in around her. Magnus, sensing her hesitation, grew more insistent. He started offering her more. Money, a place within the family, a future full of luxury and comfort. He promised her a life of ease, one where she would never have to struggle again. But Maya wasn't sure she wanted that life. She wasn't sure she wanted to be bound to a family that saw her gift as a tool to be used and discarded. One evening, after another long day of tending to Evan's recovery, Maya found herself alone in the garden, the evening air thick with the scent of blooming flowers. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a pale light over the vast estate. She had taken to walking here when the pressure became too much. The silence of the garden gave her space to think, to breathe. She heard footsteps behind her. Magnus. Why do you keep running away from me, Maya? His voice was soft, but it carried an edge of frustration. She didn't turn to face him. I'm not running away, Magnus. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing here. You're saving my son's life, he said, stepping closer, his tone firm, almost pleading. You're the only one who can do this. Don't you see? We can give you everything, anything you want. All you have to do is stay. I didn't come here for riches, Maya said, her voice steady. I didn't come here to be bought. I came here to help. And that's what you're doing, Magnus insisted. You've given us hope, Maya. Hope that we thought we'd lost forever. Don't take that away from us. Maya's chest tightened. She felt the sting of his words, the weight of their expectations pressing down on her. I didn't do this to be your answer, Magnus. I did it because I wanted to help. But I can't be the solution to everything. I'm not a tool for you to use. Magnus's expression faltered. He took a step toward her, but she held up a hand to stop him. I can't stay, she said softly. I can't keep doing this. I don't want my gift to be something that's controlled, something that's used for someone else's gain. I'm not that person. For a long moment, there was silence. Then Magnus's voice broke through it, quiet but filled with emotion. So you'll leave? You'll walk away from everything? From Evan? From us? Maya turned to face him, her eyes filled with quiet resolve. Yes, I won't let my abilities be taken from me. I won't let them define who I am. Magnus stepped back, his face hardening. You're making a mistake, Maya. You have no idea what you're walking away from. Maya's heart sank, but she stood her ground. Maybe I do. And maybe I don't want any part of this life, not like this. As she turned to walk away, she heard Magnus call out to her one last time, his voice tinged with something that sounded like regret. Don't go. We need you. But Maya didn't stop. She couldn't stay. Not in a place where her gift was seen as nothing more than a commodity. Not in a place where her value was measured by what she could do for others. As she stepped back into the mansion, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. And in the silence that followed, the weight of her decision began to settle in. Magnus stood in the garden, watching her leave, and for the first time, doubt crept into his heart. He had pushed so hard to keep Maya close, to use her for Evan's sake, that he hadn't stopped to think about what it was costing him. His obsession with controlling the situation had clouded his judgment. And as the door closed behind Maya, Magnus realized something he hadn't before. In his quest to save his son, he had pushed away the one person who could have healed not just Evan, but him as well. Maya could no longer stay in the mansion. Every corner of the grand estate, every polished surface and golden fixture felt like a reminder of everything she was trying to escape. She had walked through these halls thinking she could help, thinking her gift could make a difference. But now, she understood the price that came with it. The Stricklands weren't just offering her a place in their world. They were offering her a life of servitude disguised as luxury. She couldn't be bought. She couldn't let her healing gift become a tool in their hands. It wasn't meant to be used for personal gain, for wealth or status. She had learned that much from her grandmother, who had kept the gift hidden for a reason. With a heavy heart, Maya packed her things in the small room that had become her prison. She knew leaving wasn't going to be easy. But she also knew it was the only way to reclaim her life, to honor the gift she had been given without losing herself in the process. That evening, she sought out Magnus. He was in his study, reviewing papers by the light of a single candle. The weight of the mansion's silence hung in the air between them as she stepped inside. "Maya," Magnus said, his voice tired, his eyes weary. "Are you really leaving?" Maya didn't answer at first. She simply looked at him, the man who had tried to buy her loyalty, who had treated her like an object rather than a person. She had tried to help his family, tried to save his son, but it was never enough. He still saw her as a means to an end, and that was something she couldn't accept. "I'm leaving," she said quietly, her voice firm. "I can't stay here, Magnus. My gift is not for sale. I don't want to be used by your family. I'm not a tool to be controlled." Magnus stared at her, his face hardening. "You think I'm trying to control you? You think I don't understand what you've given to us? I've seen my son come back from the edge of death because of you. I owe you more than you can imagine. Don't you owe us a chance to help you?" Maya shook her head. "I didn't come here for you to help me. I came here to help Evan, and I've done that. But I can't stay in a world where my gift is nothing more than a commodity. You don't understand. It's not about what I can do for you. It's about what I choose to give." Her words hung in the air, but Magnus didn't reply. The tension between them was palpable, and Maya felt the walls she had built in her heart begin to crack. She didn't want to hurt him, but she had to stand by her decision. Just as she turned to leave, the door opened behind her. It was Evan. His once pale face now had a healthy flush, his posture straight, his eyes bright and full of life. "Maya, wait!" His voice cracked with desperation. "Please don't go. You've done so much for me. I don't know how to repay you." Maya's heart twisted as she saw him standing there, the boy she had healed, the boy who had slowly become something more, someone she could never forget. She had grown attached to him too, but her decision had to be made, for both their sakes. "You don't owe me anything, Evan," Maya said softly, turning to face him. "I did it because I wanted to, but healing isn't about saving just one person. It's about giving freely to the world, helping where you can, and letting go when it's time." Evan's eyes filled with sorrow. "I can't let you go. You're the only person who's ever made me feel alive again. I'll do anything if it means you stay." Maya stepped closer, her voice quiet but firm. "I can't stay, Evan. I have to go back to my village. I can't let my gift be used like this." "But what about us?" Evan whispered, his voice breaking. "What about me?" Maya placed a gentle hand on his arm, feeling the warmth of his skin, the life in him that had once been so faint. "You don't need me anymore, Evan. You've healed. You're strong. You'll be okay." The silence that followed was thick with unspoken words. Maya knew her departure would break his heart, but she also knew it was the right choice for both of them. As she turned to leave, her heart heavy, she found herself standing before Magnus again. He stood in the doorway, watching her, his face filled with something she hadn't expected. "Understanding?" "You're right," he said, his voice low and resigned. "I've been blinded by my desperation. I thought I could control the situation, but you've made me see things differently. I'm sorry, Maya. I should have never treated you like that. Maya looked at him, her heart softening. I forgive you, Magnus. You didn't know any better. But I can't stay. As she walked out of the mansion, leaving behind the life she could never have, Maya felt a strange sense of peace settle over her. She had made her choice, and it was the right one. The Stricklands had taken her gift, but they would never take her soul. She would return to her village, to her true purpose, and in time she would heal others, not as a tool for the rich, but as someone who understood that the greatest healing came from love, not obligation. And with that, she stepped into the night, ready to begin again. The long journey back to her village was both a relief and a weight on Maya's shoulders. As she walked the familiar dirt paths, her heart felt lighter with every step. The Strickland mansion and its heavy expectations were far behind her now, and with each mile, the world she had known there seemed more like a distant dream. She didn't belong in that life, not where her gift was a currency to be traded, not where it was treated as a commodity. But in her village, there were no walls, no pressure. There was only a simple, quiet life waiting for her. When she finally arrived at her grandmother's small, humble cottage, the sight of her familiar surroundings brought an unexpected warmth to Maya's heart. The cottage, with its stone walls and the garden her grandmother had tended for years, felt like home in every sense. Maya stepped through the door, greeted by the scent of herbs drying by the window, the same comforting smell she had known since childhood. Her grandmother, though old and frail, stood up from her chair with a smile. "You're back," she said, her voice soft but full of life. "I knew you'd come home." Maya hugged her grandmother tightly, feeling the familiar weight of her arms around her. For the first time in what felt like forever, Maya didn't feel lost. The gift that had once been a burden now felt like a part of her, something to embrace, not hide from. "I'm home," Maya whispered, the words carrying the weight of everything she had left behind. "And I've learned so much." Her grandmother stepped back, her knowing eyes studying Maya. "I know, child. I've been waiting for you to understand." And so, Maya stayed. She returned to her role as a healer in the village, just as she had always been meant to. The work was simple but fulfilling. She didn't heal for money or recognition. She healed because it was who she was. Word spread quickly of her abilities, and soon people came from nearby villages for her help. Every touch she gave, every person she healed, felt like a small step toward the peace she had been seeking. Maya began to understand the true value of her gift. It wasn't meant for the rich or powerful. It wasn't meant to be controlled or hoarded. It was meant to be shared, to be given freely, without strings attached. In the village, surrounded by people who appreciated her not for her wealth, but for her heart, she finally found the sense of purpose she had been searching for. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, the Strickland family was undergoing its own transformation. Magnus had not forgotten Maya. He couldn't. Her refusal to be controlled had been a wake-up call for him, one that shook him to his core. He realized too late that he had been blinded by his wealth and power, treating Maya as an object rather than a person. But he had learned from his mistakes. Magnus began to donate a portion of his fortune to charitable causes, focusing on helping those in need. He used his influence to support initiatives that promoted healthcare and education in underprivileged areas. The lessons Maya had unwittingly taught him about humility and generosity seeped into his actions, and he started to make changes that reached far beyond his own family. Evan, now fully recovered, also found himself changing. The experience of being healed, not through expensive treatments or scientific miracles, but by the gentle touch of a simple girl, had made him appreciate the true value of life in a way he never had before. He too began to embrace the lessons of humility. He started to use his position and resources to help others, focusing not on the power his name could bring, but on the positive impact he could have on the world around him. As the seasons passed, Maya's life in the village flourished. She built stronger connections with the people she helped, teaching them the ways of healing that her grandmother had passed down to her. Maya never forgot Evan, nor the Stricklands, but she knew her path was here, among the people who valued her for what she gave, not for what she could do for them. And though her gift had once felt like a curse, now It was a blessing. The peace she found in helping others, without the weight of wealth or control, was far greater than any life the Stricklands could have offered her. Maya had found her place, not in a mansion filled with luxury, but in a small village where healing came from the heart, where giving was its own reward, and where the greatest power was the power to forgive. Maya hadn't expected him to come. After all, she had left the Stricklands behind, determined to live a quiet life in her village, far from the weight of wealth and the expectations that had once threatened to overwhelm her. But there he was, standing at the threshold of her small herb shop, Evan Strickland, the boy she had healed, the son of the billionaire she had once helped. He looked different now. Gone was the pale, lifeless figure she had known in the mansion. Evan was healthy, his features sharper, his posture more assured. But there was something else about him, a quiet understanding in his eyes that spoke of lessons learned and humility gained. "Maya," he said softly, his voice filled with gratitude and something deeper. "I've come to thank you for everything you did, for saving my life, for healing me." Maya set down the mortar and pestle she had been using to prepare a remedy, wiping her hands on her apron before meeting his gaze. She had expected this moment to feel different, perhaps awkward or heavy with the past. But instead, it felt simple. There was no pressure, no expectation. Just two people standing in a small village shop acknowledging something that had passed between them. "You don't need to thank me, Evan," she said quietly, her tone steady. "I did it because I wanted to. You're better now, and that's all that matters." He nodded, but there was a lingering sadness in his eyes. "I don't know how to express what you've done for me. I didn't understand what healing really was until you showed me. You saved me, not just physically, but in ways I can't even explain." Maya paused for a moment, her gaze drifting to the shelves of dried herbs and potions lining the walls. She had spent years learning from her grandmother, understanding the power of nature's gifts. But it was only now, standing in this humble space, that she truly understood the gift she had to offer. "Healing isn't just about curing ailments," Maya said softly. "It's about restoring balance, giving hope when there seems to be none, helping people find their way back to themselves. It's not a magic trick or a transaction. It's a gift. But it's a gift I can't give away for the wrong reasons." Evan stepped closer, his voice earnest. "I know. I get it now. I've learned that healing doesn't come from wealth or power. It comes from the heart. I've been changed by this. By you." Maya felt a knot in her chest loosen, but her decision remained clear. "I'm glad you've learned that, Evan. I truly am. But I can't be a part of your world. I found my peace here. I found my purpose." Evan's eyes searched hers, as though trying to understand her decision, trying to find a way to change her mind. But Maya stood firm, her heart light, despite the bittersweet weight of their conversation. This was her choice, and she knew it was the right one. "You don't have to stay in the shadows of my world, Maya," Evan said softly, his voice almost pleading. "You've shown me what's truly important. But I don't want to lose you." Maya smiled gently, a sense of finality in her words. "You've never lost me, Evan. But my place is here, with the people who need me the most. You'll be fine. You've learned the lessons you needed to. You'll carry them forward, and that's more than I could ever do." Evan nodded, though his face was heavy with the unspoken pain of goodbye. "I'll never forget what you did for me," he whispered. As Evan left the shop and made his way back to the mansion, Maya felt the weight of their parting settle gently in her chest. The Strickland family had given her a glimpse into a world of power and luxury, but it was the simple life of healing that had shown her the true meaning of her gift. Days turned into weeks, and Maya's legacy as a healer grew within the village. She shared her knowledge with others, teaching the young and the old alike the ways of nature, how to restore balance and bring hope to those who needed it. She had learned that healing was not just about mending the body, but about restoring the spirit, the heart, and the connection to the world around them. And the Stricklands, though they had lost her, had found something in themselves that they hadn't expected. Magnus, once obsessed with controlling his family's fate, now used his wealth and influence to give back. He supported charities, funded medical research, and advocated for causes that mattered. Evan, too, became an advocate for humility and compassion, using his platform to support those who needed it the most. As the sun set on another peaceful evening in the village, Maya sat by the window of her small cottage, looking out over the rolling hills. She could see the sky shifting from shades of pink to gold, the quiet beauty of the world around her filling her heart. She had made the right choice. Her gift was no longer a burden but a blessing, one that she could share freely without fear of being controlled or used. The people she had healed, the lives she had touched, had given her a sense of peace that no wealth or power could ever provide. And as the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, Maya knew that her legacy, one of love, healing, and forgiveness, would live on, carried in the hearts of those she had touched.